to the cloud. Here we go. Now I'm doing that. Here we go. Start the summary. Okay, good.
Okay, now we're all good. So now that we've been over Rena's update about holidays,
we shouldn't post that on our anyway.
No, we wouldn't post that anyway. So I was thinking about possible topics, and I'm like, I haven't been working for 2 weeks, so that was.
How about this? How about what we need to do? Well, here's my recommendation.
No, I'm like good recommendation because I'm like I haven't been working to have a topic. Yeah.
But we have like 5 topics already. So what we need to do is do a 30-minute segment on the topic. Okay. So like we've done activity theory and we talked about it and we got all worked up about how we even got there.
Yeah.
But we have a little video about it. I did some research, blah, 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 all that kind of crapola. So we've done that. That's a really good topic. Like that one's a really good one.
And I need to learn more about it because I only knew it in passing. So that would be good. I haven't seen your video.
Right. Okay. So that's your homework then. So you need to do a little bit of reading so we can do a recording sometime this week. So because we're not going to meet next week, it's like we can do it anytime you have time this week to do the recording because we might want to try it a couple of times, eh? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah. So yeah, keep going.
So then if that's the case, then we might want to consider a script. I think I started one on that in that folder for January, like some questions, and I don't remember. Let me look.
Oh, and that's why we're meeting today. Okay.
Right, that's why we're meeting today is to plan this. And I really stopped looking at it last week, and so here's my update.
Yeah, what's your update after I tell you?
Catherine is in Georgia right now. And with Larry looking for a new home. So we're moving. Moving again. Can you fucking believe it? I mean, come on.
Why are you moving this time?
Why are we moving?
Yeah. Why are you moving?
Because she wants to.
Oh, because she wants
to. Oh yeah, this is so.
Oh, I know. She likes to move.
Well, no, she doesn't. Actually, she doesn't. She's done. She wants to not move anymore. So she sat down. She's like, but she said, and I said, because we talked about it, and I'm like, but I'm sick of moving. She said, yes, I know, dear, but we're moving because of your work. She said, every place we've moved is to follow you for work. She said, so this time we're going to move where I want to go, and you're going to follow me. And I'm like, oh, okay. I said, and she said, and I said, really, to Georgia? I said, but I don't want to move to Georgia. She said, listen, she said, I followed both of you for the last 30 years. She said, and I'm asking for you both to do this for me.
So you and Larry. She's referring to you and Larry.
Yeah. Yes. And so she said, so she sat us down and said, this is what I'm doing. And I'm asking you to do this for me. When someone asks you to do that, what are you supposed to say? Right. I'm like, I can work from anywhere. It's cheaper. I can't argue myself out of it.
Cheaper? I don't know. Is Georgia cheaper?
Oh God, yes. Yeah, compared to Maine. Maine is one of the most expensive in the country. Oh. Yeah, it's the most expensive place to live. But we bought a house here for $250. We can sell it for $380.
Well, have you finished your house?
Because who cares? She said, don't do another thing. It won't get you any money. You can sell it just the way it is for $380. Because the property values have gone up so high. Maine, because there's no new housing. And I'm like, okay, so we're going to put it on the market in like a week. And they're going to buy a house in like the next couple. They're going to put an offer on the house the next couple of days. That's what they're doing now. They're running around looking at like 15 houses, and then all of that starts to happen, and we move. So just as an interruption.
Well, that's fair. That's fair because I interrupt regularly, but I think that we are very flexible with our interruptions, and that's part of this whole process. And we'll still, I'm saddened to hear you're moving because it's a lot of work. I well know I do it a lot, but I'm not going to do it anymore, as we said. If I do it, my place, I think I'd rent this place and then go rent somewhere. I'm not going to go buy at this point. Like that's what I think. Yeah. With future consulting opportunities or whatever, like I don't know, maybe I'll go to the UK or something. And
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. So you can go anywhere. I'm gonna buy we're gonna buy so we can pay cash and not have mortgage.
Yeah.
That's
Well, that's
because
sweet.
yeah, because we made so much money with this one and we put the cash down. We bought this thing for cash. So now we can just turn around the whole thing, buy what we want, and not have to pay mortgage. We won't have a mortgage payment, right? Or a rent payment. So all I have to pay is utilities. And that's great for me. And that's for everything.
In Georgia. I think the funny thing is I never come visit you either, but it's often because I'm like not quite sure where you are, but not that I can talk because I have moved too, but I'm never quite sure. I don't know, like I don't know about Georgia. Georgia, I just see they had some good online learning and K-12 resources, open educational resources. They have that, but I just still see it as South, and I feel
Oh,
it's funny. I'm like,
oh yeah, it's definitely deep south.
yeah,
It's purple state, so it's not as red as it used to be for sure. It's right on
yeah.
the being a blue state, so it's purple, and that's what we call them. So they're 50-50 basically, blue and red. And overall it's fine. I mean, honestly, the cost of property, we can buy double the size with double the lands with huge amount of acreage in Georgia that we can't afford here. We couldn't buy that here.
So you won't live in the city, you live outside the city?
Yeah, everything they're looking at is a very small town. Most of them are walking distance to downtown in the small town. I think what we'll end up getting is one in the rural area, what in a more disconnected area.
Are you gonna have a horse?
Depends on what they actually end up deciding on. So what they've seen so far, they've been there. What they went on Friday, Saturday. They've been in 3 days. This will be their fourth day, and they've seen about 10 places, and they're really excited about two. So that's kind of where they got, I think.
What in terms of best timing to buy houses, is January a good time in Georgia?
Yes, because most of the houses we're looking at have been sitting for a long
Yeah, I
time.
was gonna say that's usually that these are the houses that you see. Yeah.
Yeah. So like most of them have been on the market since April or March or April. It's a very, I mean, the town that they're looking at is the town that she's from. So her family is like down the street, and that's the house they like the most. It is in town, in the city. They like it. It's a big piece of property. It's almost a full acre, but not quite. In a town, which is nice. It's a really nice house. I mean, it's beautiful, big columns. It's a gorgeous house. It's a beautiful house.
And do you have to
So
do
I'm
work on it?
pardon.
Work? Do you have to do work on the house or is it done? Oh, it's done. Okay.
The one they like, I mean, it is done. The only work you have to do is landscape it because they ripped out all the trees, but otherwise, but back in the 40s, the house is older. It's built in the 40s. It's a beautiful old house. Anyway, so we'll see. I don't know where they're going to land up, but that's the big project today. And it snowed last night, so I was out this morning. I've been already out shoveling snow, and I had to get all that taken care of before I started my day because I have meetings all day long. I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, it's been an interesting day so far.
Well, I hear there's snow, like there's always snow here now in Edmonton. That's not a surprise. I do live practically up by the North Pole. But yeah. But I got a note from California. I like people are sending me texts and things saying it snowed. And I'm like, oh, that's sad. And I didn't really think anything of it. So I'll have to text them back.
Yep, it's a big deal for them. For us, it should be. We're a little behind. I'm surprised we haven't gotten more.
We're
We haven't
behind.
gotten. Oh yeah,
We're
we haven't gotten the snow. Yeah, we haven't gotten
yeah.
the first 6 inches this year, I think, and that's all
Well,
we got.
ours is more cold weather, which I don't particularly enjoy because then you have to put on basically the parkas and it's like
Yeah,
Alaska all over again.
yeah. What's the temperature there now today?
Today, remember we're Celsius and I don't even know Fahrenheit. I can change. We're only like minus 20 today with wind chill, Celsius. And then it's what I'm a little bit concerned about is by Friday, we're minus 30 without wind chill, minus 40 with. That is no fun. Like you don't go anywhere.
Yeah, I don't go anywhere anyway. So you're -4 today degrees Celsius, and we're about 9 degrees
Positive 9.
Fahrenheit. Yeah. Mhm.
Even
Mhm.
Maine, yeah. Maine isn't. Yeah.
So
Okay. So
that's
you
cool.
have some news then. Well, okay. So if they buy a house, though, when do you think you might move in the next
So for
few?
me,
Yeah.
the agreement was whatever you buy, I'm packing up a car with the dogs and I'm packing up one moving van, little one with my office and the dogs. And I'm driving out there and I'm moving into the house immediately. And then you all can deal with the difference. And I'll meet you at the other side. That's what I'm doing. So I'm going to set up my office, set up my podcast station, everything, and then wait for everybody to show up.
But you need a house to do that. So they'd let you in immediately. That's what you're saying? Like you could get into these
Well, the
houses.
minute we sell this house, we'll buy that house. Yeah, it'll all just switch. So when it comes time to move and pack, I will leave and then I will pay for packing. So I'll just pay for someone to come and pack the entire thing, load it into a truck. So
Yeah.
they will pack, load, and drive it, and then unpack it when they get there, and we will unpack it. So that's the only thing that we will do because we've done this 5 times in the last 11 years, 12 years, 13 years. We've done this 5 times in 13 years. And I said, I'm not doing it again. I'm not packing another box. I said, this has to be completely and totally packed from top to bottom by somebody else and tagged and insured because we lost so much shit last time. I said, so no, we're not doing that again. I'm not doing it again. And it was expensive to do it ourselves. It cost us almost $20,000 to try and nickel and dime it, and it would have cost me 16,000 if I had someone pack it, load it, and move it. And I argued with them last time about this. They didn't believe me. I had it all set up and organized. They decided they were going to do it on their own.
Spreadsheet. Yeah.
And so then we got the pods and they got moving vans. It was a nightmare. It was a freaking nightmare. But I left. They did all of it, but it was a nightmare when I got it on this side. I'm like, okay, we're not doing it your way again. We're doing it my way. We will pay the extra 25 or $3,500 to get it all taken care of. But yeah, that's what's happening. So by the end of February, beginning of March, I'll be in a new place, I'm guessing.
And what's going on with your Seattle thing? When's that finishing or where are you at with that?
Oh my God, we just started. Like
Yeah.
literally. So we got 3 big contracts in the last few months of last year. We got one for 145 for this racial equity project with housing. And then I got one for 65 to do technical assistance and capacity building for small businesses and nonprofits in King County. And they're looking specifically to increase the new money coming into King County from federal dollars.
Yeah.
And then we just got hired to work with a group called the Missouri Health Foundation, and it's a project of theirs called MoCap, which is bringing investment into nonprofits. So basically, they allocate $2 million,
Mm-hmm.
and then they coordinate consultants and nonprofits, and they pay consultants to help these nonprofits write federal grants, basically. And so we got the grant to coordinate that. And I got the project to coordinate that. It'll probably be about $100,000 for a year. So yay. So that's where I'm at right now. I have about 3 in the hopper. If I get even one of these, I'm gonna have to call you. Okay, okay, do you want to work?
No, I know you. Yeah, you had other ones, and I was just, I'm good. I don't need. I'm just listening, and but you were very busy at the end of the year, and I was like, I wonder what has
Yeah.
evolved. So yeah,
Yep. So we'll see where it all lands. But if we get the other 2, I mean, we need more people. We just need more people
yeah.
because one of them is $9 million. Holy smokesy. It's a big project, right? But so it's a lot of work. Yeah, it's a
And they're
lot of
all
work.
online then. Like they're all. That's what I mean. Like so, if you move to Georgia, you can move anywhere.
Yeah,
Really.
they're all remote. The big one, the $9 million one, a big chunk of that, most of it is giving it away. It's $8 million to grant and manage. That's most of it giving away. The $1 million is to develop the educational components. That's why I would hire you because it's an educational content project. It's all online courses, basically. Yeah. Mhm, mhm.
Fun times. No.
So anyway, that's where we're at with that. So that's where I'm at. So it's fun, having a good time.
But that's really positive because you're like, you were building, building, building. So you should feel
Yeah.
good about that and give yourself a big pat on the back.
Yeah,
No, it's a
I'm
lot.
really grateful.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that that we're in like $250,000 for the last quarter of last year.
Mhm.
That's great. So even if we get one more, that's great. If we get both, that would be a problem. Because they're
But
both
you
of them
have
are.
to try. Yeah, you have to try
Oh,
it and figure it
yeah.
out.
Yeah. Oh no, I will definitely attempt to do both of them. And there's plenty of consultants that I know that are looking for work. So I would just be reaching out to folks and say, who's want to work? Who wants to work? Who wants a full-time job? So with the cannabis one, we're paying 136 in US dollars.
An hour?
No, 136,000. It's a salaried position, 136,000.
Oh, wow. That's neat that you're doing like a salary position like that. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, we have to, because it would be, they're so big, they're such big projects, suddenly all of three of them together that we'd have to pay ourselves well, and we have to be able to hire good people. So that's what we're paying is 136. That's what we proposed anyway. We'll see if they'll allow it, but I can't imagine they wouldn't. It's pretty
Wow.
standard.
You're like turning into Mr. Business. It's cute.
So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, cross your fingers. We don't have it yet. Cross your fingers. We might
No,
not
I'll
get it.
cross my fingers. I'll cross my
It's a
fingers.
really big project, so I don't know if they'll give it to us such a small group, but they might. I mean, we might have to do an interview and stuff, and then I would call you. Put some lipstick on. We're doing an interview.
Stick on a pig. That's what I think of Sarah Palin all the time. Okay, so activity theory, do you mean to review it? What do we want? I was just trying to look for the script. Sorry, I was doing that.
So
And then I got
in our How Do I Know You folder in there,
yeah. And then where
we have it. I have it under. Let's see, where the hell are we?
I have bios, business plan, digital storytelling. Is that the right one?
It is the main folder, and then you go into under January, under the main folder.
Okay, I am in the wrong folder because I'm in podcast. How do I know you? And then I have bios, business plan, digital storytelling, podcasting.
Okay, you should have the rest of it, right?
Is it under a folder? And that's why I can't see it.
Yeah, it's under a different folder. Would you stop, cat? Stop it. Go. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. I don't know what you want, but I'm not doing it right now. Christ. This cat has been driving me crazy because mommy's not home.
I can tell.
What are you doing? Leave me alone. Okay, let me give you a link. Hold on. Let me make sure I shared it with you.
I know this is the right one because it has business plan in it. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, I think there's two. Like there's a.
I know that's the problem. So that's
there's
why
a folder up above, and I don't think I've shared it with you. Let me see.
Well, I know there is because there's some.
Oh yeah, no, it's there. Here's the link. Okay, you have to go back one level.
No, if I go back one level, it goes to my enormous one.
So if I go to the one that I'm looking at, it will be. Oh, it's a different link, maybe.
Shared with me. I'm gonna go this way. Podcast. How do I know? But no, but mine start me. Like I opened them. Or I created them. Did you create? Oh no, podcast owner. Maybe okay, I'm gonna try differently.
Yeah, it's the one, but it's the one above it. So you're on there. I have shared it with you. Let's see, but I have to do it from this one. I'm using two different computers today because I'm trying to record. So let me go find that in this computer. Sorry. That's my
Yeah, no, if you can send me the link, then I'll make sure. I think I created a folder.
Yes, you created one and I put yours inside of mine.
Right, but I can't seem to get to yours from mine. Do you know what I mean? Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try this way, Arthur. After Strata, maybe. Oh, ITS Finance. That's probably it. TTS Finance. No, this is tobacco. This is way back when.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, that's not Arthur.
Wrong one. Here we go. Okay, now it's in the chat.
Oh, in the chat. Okay, thank you. Oh yeah, I don't know where this is.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
So it's
Okay.
funny because I've been just like typing in to get these podcasts to see them.
Oh, I see.
I have not been doing this properly.
Oh, I see. So you didn't
Look
know
at
that.
you with November, September. Look at that. That's way easier. Now I'm gonna like bookmark this so I
Okay,
don't.
so January is the one we're looking under, and that one has the script.
Okay,
The
well,
rest of them are, it's kind of messy because, it's still all in draft form and it's all, but that's all right. That's what it is.
yeah, I've just bookmarked this because I do not want to lose this again. Okay, sorry. So January script. Now I'm okay. Someone is triggered. You have to do something.
Oh, I think these were my, oh, I also did, so I did three.
Mm.
I've done activity theory, I've done one other one, and then I did that continuum from
Oh
discomfort.
yeah. How
Yeah,
do you?
so I've done three of those. So we have those, and then I was talking to the young woman who's doing the data resource management for homelessness about racial equity and data. I said, how, managing that. And I thought she'd be great to have as an interview to just talk to her about what's it like to even talk about this from a human perspective. Like you're talking about numbers, because we've talked about it. And so I would say, well, where's the cutoff? Like, and she would say, I don't know. I said, I think it's one person. I said, if you get to one whole person, I said, I said, if it's a percentage of a person, then it's not an issue. Then it's something else, right? It's an anomaly in the math. But if you can identify one individual that has lost their way because of the system, is that enough? And
What
so
you said?
she
What?
was like, well, I don't know. And I said, well, if it's to end homelessness, then you got to start with the person that's homeless and not with the number. I said, so the number is just representing what's happening. I said, so how do you navigate that? And so I said, so your discernment is to determine what that cutoff is. So she spent like 4 days, and we got back together, and she's like, I don't know if it's one person, isn't that enough? And I'm like, okay, so we're on.
Oh,
But she had to think about it, right? She had to really like think about it because she wasn't humanizing it. I don't know what the question was. I don't really know what was happening. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where she was, where I don't really understand what was going on in her head about the numbers. So it was just fascinating. So I thought it'd be good to interview her because then I would understand more, but then she would also understand more. And the reason I thought it would be good to talk to you is because she wants to provide education to lay folks about all of this data and the racial equity issues and what it looks like, and how she's approaching it is terrible. And I'm trying to get her to do a more interactive, engaging adult learning model. And she's almost there. So I kind of said, if we do an interview with you, it would push you over the edge. So in a couple of weeks, we could probably schedule an interview with her and just do 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And, and we could talk to her for half an hour, but we would only use about 10 or 15 minutes of it, but it'd be interesting.
I think it's really important because I've been in tons of projects where people have data, but they use their own biases to inform whatever they want the data to say. I think that's what you're doing. And there's actually an ethics in journalism and ethics in using data. I have done some work on that, and it's storytelling, and it's looking at, yeah, so that's a good thing that we could use for that. I used that in the past when I was working with learning about data and being ethical and culturally responsive. Yeah. During COVID, because remember when you'd see these graphs with visual representations and you're like, oh no, everyone's dying. But actually, it's like, just like you're saying, it was half a person or whatever. And is that important or is it not? Well, of course, it's always important, but how important is it? And it was often like the way that they drew the graphs and the misrepresentation and
all of that, and more of, even for me, it's more even how you just deliver the information, because right now she's doing workshops, and basically the workshops are she's online, turns on a PowerPoint, pins herself to the screen so we don't see anybody else, we don't know, but most people have their cameras off, and I don't know what they're doing, but they're probably just doing it because the funder asked them to. So they get their little they get the little chit for showing up. They don't have to do anything, no engagement. We have absolutely no idea if this is doing any good whatsoever. And she feels that's good enough. Like that's what she needs to do.
But that's what, when I went to the building equitable nonprofit policies and
Mm-hmm.
guidelines for, if we're, remember it was the rowing club, the nonprofit. And so my brother's like, can you go to that to get some ideas? And it was a 2 hour, you sit there, nothing. And I was like, again, I, like you, was like,
Who
what,
cares?
why would you do this?
Why?
For two
Why?
hours in my face. Yeah, it was interesting. I did listen.
Yes, of course.
I
Of
was
course.
curious more than
Of
anything,
course.
but
Doesn't mean you can't, right? Doesn't mean
but
you can't.
you could have been walking, you don't, like, you didn't have to, there was no engagement. But that actually, the visual representation and data thing is interesting. So
Mm.
let's put this on a side, because I'm working on this media integration project. I am doing something. I forgot about it. Of course I am, because that's why we have these discussions, to remember what we're doing. And because I'm into open educational resources, our university said they gave us this money, but we had to make them by the end of March. You know how it's like, you have to have it done. So they're like, Verena, come up with a project. And I'm like, Verena, come up with a project. Okay. So I checked around, and I had been doing those closed captions on those videos. That was not very entertaining for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I went and talked to our director, and she said, but really our wicked problem is, why should we have videos at all? Like, why should we have podcasts? What multimedia should we have? What are the guidelines, principles, and framework to help support the creation and choosing what we're going to create and what we're not going to create for our courses? And I was able to hire 2 research assistants to help me. And we're doing this annotated bibliography on that, like why, how to choose your media, what to choose, why, all what the emerging current research says about it. And in their interviews, though, both of them brought up data visualization as the number one thing that they really appreciated in courses. And in our courses, we don't have any. It didn't even it wasn't even in my research, like brainstorming to consider it. I was thinking, as I said, like videos, podcasts, and I thought that was up and coming and emerging. But they pointed out that having their professors summarize some of the materials and create digital visualizations like infographics or graphs, depending on what, if it was quantitative or qualitative content or data, how that helps them better understand things. Yeah, and so now I have to add that into our research, and there isn't a lot. It's being explored because of AI and other aspects, but there's this handbook on multimedia that everyone is guided by that came out, like 3rd edition last year, has images but doesn't have data visualization, which is really interesting. Yeah, so it's a really, really, like, it's not that there's not stuff. I found some stuff, but even to help her, like if you said, okay, we're gonna go find like the literature on it, there's not a lot. There's all these machine learning math experts who say, oh yeah, that's the best way to see things, and they understand it, but it's not being communicated well
Mm-hmm.
in the general community. So no wonder she's running into problems. That's what I'm saying. Big circle, that it's a common problem, and we're going to be working on it in this media project now as a result.
Interesting. So with all that, two things come up. Like I would, if we were to do this conversation, I would love to interview my friend, who works at Gallaudet University as a placement. She does internship placement for folks. And the reason she's interesting is because she navigates that world between what happens in a fully accessible university, Gallaudet University. Do you know Gallaudet?
No.
It's the largest university for the deaf and blind,
Oh.
right? And so that's all they do, right? Is they figure out how to navigate the difference between, because data visualization means nothing to blind people.
Well, that's the other piece. So they wanted me to bring in accessibility as well, because we're going to have accessibility rules and guidelines that we have to follow. And so why is that important? Yeah, how does it all connect? Yeah.
So how does it all intersect is really fascinating, because I'm not really sure I know how they all intersect, but I think there's something really relevant about there's data visualization, there's storytelling, and then there's a way to translate all of this into something that's meaningful. How do I synthesize this in a way if I don't have sight? Because a lot of it has to be, because what you're talking about is visualization and sight. Graphic takes all of that and infographics, right? So I don't know how to do it. I know that it's challenging. One of the things I do remember is in attempting to do data in online courses and like Moodle and shit, we had to be really careful about how we placed the information because of these readers and what that data visualization looks like, right? So I could take so the AI does a lot of this for us that we couldn't do before. I can take an image, pop it into AI and say, narrate this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then I can put that into the alt text. So someone that doesn't have that, but they still are listening to text about data. That to me is a big leap. I don't know how to do it.
Well, that's part of this. Yeah. And that's part of, so the reason started was because of the closed captioning of these videos. And even though we're watching the videos, I am literally writing out the script of the videos about math. So that's the other funny thing. Like, it's not quite right because it's not text, right? Because it's math language to the best of my ability with the typing that you have, right? Because I can't type math text into a regular close. There's all this world, Arthur, that I was like, oh my gosh, like how I'm all. So that's how we started with the accessibility. But then when we talked to the director, she's like, I think what frustrates me the most is that we have 80 videos that are terrific, that are great, but why do we have 80 videos? Why did we choose to do that? Like, how is that helping a student? Is it helping a student? So we're doing all the research on that. And it's not that helpful for students. There's actual research that says when they're overwhelmed by information, remember a certain person that starts with B, and then we'd have all these resources, right? All those additional they're not helpful. They're overwhelming. Yes. And even like images, remember how we talk about the images in the brain? Mm-hmm. Ironically, and I remember having debates too, it's about putting the words on the side, and there's certain ways that you can put the words to help the image, to help, because we've learned to read from left to right. And so we could make students' lives more difficult if we don't take the time to do these rules, let alone all the students who are visually impaired and need the extra help. Well, so I'm in the middle of learning about this, and I'm like, I love being in how did I never learn about this before? Like, why was it this, you have to learn? So we're making like checklists to help, and they're all going to be openly licensed because it's Verena, which is part of the, right. There's two parts to it. The bibliography is going to be open, and that's new to them. They're like, oh, you can do that. I'm like, yes, you use an open source bibliography site called Zotero, and then anyone can access it. So you can access it. And so you can use it for your own equity work, right? Because it's all there. But we're also making like principles and guidelines based on that research to support online course creation and online content. Okay. Yeah. And it's only until March, but I'm like, this is a project that will not end because it will constantly be needing to update it as multimedia changes, right? With AI and everything. Well, what comes to mind is I'd like to recommend a couple of things. One, and this is totally self-serving because it sounds like a really great project. I'd love for them to interview my friend Margot for this the research, the students to research. Yeah, right. Because that's what they would have to do, right? They need this information about how does this work. That's amazing. Okay. Right? Yeah. And then we would incorporate that interview into the podcast. We would say, and here we have our intern, we have 2 interns, and this is what they're doing because they are exploring all of this
possibility and this is some of their work and we just wanted to include it. I think that would be great because that's one whole show to do anything.
And they'd have to write out the questions ahead of time, and they are like that. They're my keeners right now. They're like everything I teach them.
They suck it right up. Yeah. So they'll
They,
be excited. Yeah. So that would be a great opportunity. I'm also working with a research assistant this first quarter. I am. And so I would invite her or him. I don't know if they've hired them yet. I don't know.
I just hired mine before Christmas. Yeah.
I think they're hiring her. And I mean, I got a little bit of money. It's a little pool of money to teach her, not to teach her, to support her to do focus groups. So she's an evaluation student and she's just going to do focus groups with volunteers. And so that's all we're going to do is get together and work on a focus group and do a project and see what happens. And I think it sounds really great. So that would also be an opportunity. So I would also bring her along to do the same thing. And it's like, okay, so talk about your experience doing these focus groups online and the racial equity issues that are emerging for you as a interviewer in these particular communities.
Well, you could also, yeah. Oh, go on. Sorry, I interrupted.
Okay, go.
No, but I'm like, you could have her interview my media team too.
Yes.
Because then my university media team, because they are kind of included but not included. So yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And so if she focused on like cultural responsivity, like how they're doing it or what they're doing, it would be really interesting. It just as a practice if she wanted to.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Okay, that's a good idea. And then the other thing that came up is my friend Melody, who lives in Orlando, Florida, and she's been working for that university, and I forget what the freak is, Central University Tech or something. I don't know what the hell it is. She's been working there for gosh, now 25 years. And her whole job is doing this media literacy, integrating research into real life work with people. So she'd be fascinating to talk to now that she's been doing it for years. For years. We worked together back in the early 90s, believe it or not, 93, 94, 95, back in Tucson, when she was doing her PhD at the university around this topic. So she always invited me to her classes. So it was very hands-on at that point. That was way back in the day before technology. So now it's a whole different thing. But anyway, I think she might be interesting to bring on to interview. So that's two really good interviews that we could think about, including that are all about racial equity and integrating this work into professional. Like, what does it look like on the ground? What does it look like in real life? What does it look like as a white woman in Central Florida? Like, what is that like? Who is the population? Who are your students? What's going on? And what are the challenges that you're experiencing with media literacy? And what happens with communities of color? And are they being included or left behind in Florida? Those are the questions that I'd want to be asking her, because Florida is so steeped in this right-wing fascism experience around education, where they can't say this and they can't say that, and they can't talk about this and they can't do this. And it is like DEI has been outlawed in every university in Florida.
Well, they're trying to do that in Alberta.
Right. They're mimicking. Thank you, Florida, because now the rest of the right-wing world is trying to do what DeSantis has done.
You know what else is interesting, Mike? The two research assistants are international students as well. So yeah, so we can bring in that angle. But I think if we did knowing that I have to get this project done by the end of March. So this is like, it's happening right now. It has to happen.
Right.
So we do it or not. So maybe are you saying like we kind of create a series? So we organize it a bit more and then focus the content around it, and maybe I'd have to help my students with their questions. And
yeah, you would do the project. It's a project. And you would even talk about, so I would do an introduction. I would say, I'm going to introduce these two folks and Verena, and they're going to do this whole thing. And then I would skip out and not do that one at all. And you would just do this episode with them. That would be great.
Yeah, but I think we could both do it because they would be fascinated. They're very curious. Anyway.
Oh yeah. Okay. That would be
So okay. I think they haven't quite met the Verena, put it that way. They have no idea what they're getting themselves into. They think they're doing an annotated bibliography like they've done in other research.
Yeah,
But
it's
they
like,
know it's about open educational resources.
Right. Okay.
But they
Cool.
don't really know. But like we've already just met, as I said, the director, and that's the first meeting. And the director's like, this is the problem that I want you to solve. Because of course, that's how I'd start anything. Like, I'm like, you're here for a reason, not just to do a bibliography. You are here to solve a problem, to help us. Yeah, because I want people to feel motivated and inspired, of course. Because it's not so exciting reading a million.
It's so true.
Okay, so why don't I think about that part? So let's finish the activity theory one. So we'll do the activity theory on Wednesday. I'm going to go review and do some reading, but what do you want? Sorry, where you didn't?
Oh yeah, these were my notes because we were talking, as we were talking, you said something about triggered. So that when I have to do something, so I did that. So I can take that off because I already did that. Okay, so then I'm going to take that off. Okay. Okay, so we introduced the topic, blah, 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 blah. Something, we might do some research around what's happening right now.
About activity theory?
Yeah, maybe. I think that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, no, but I just want to know specifically so I have it for Wednesday. Because I want it to be like wham bam, thank you, ma'am. That's really inappropriate. I cannot believe I just said that. But like tight. Maybe that's the word I want. Tight.
Yep. So what I was looking at was actually in this one, for the next one, I was looking at an introduction instead of doing introductions, that you and I just spend that one introducing ourselves and answering these questions. Like, why are we doing this? What's the happening? And I mean, we could do this. We could talk for 4 hours. So 30 minutes.
No, 30 minutes. We give ourselves 30 minutes.
30 minutes, but we would practice to get it down. So like we would do our, and so yeah, we would do this conversation. It's mostly question answer is what I'm thinking with the question answers in there. So I literally, this was just a thinking project that I was just typing things out as I was sitting there, blah, 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 blah. And then I was thinking of names, brick by brick, breaking down the barriers. How do I know you? Teaching to learn, learning to teach. And so those are the two that came up for me. That were I'm just the name just eludes me still.
I think it's fascinating knowing our creativity level that we cannot figure this out.
Well, maybe that's the point. Maybe that's the name. It's something about the fact that we can't name it. Oh, maybe we could just call it that. We can't name it.
Yeah. Well, learning, we can't, like, it has to be something learning in there, but yeah.
I don't know.
No,
but it's really hard to name.
Well, I think it's just because I don't disagree with any of it. Like, I agree with all of them. I don't have any problem with any of them, but it's because we're doing all of it. So I think it's that we need to focus it. And that's why.
Or it just needs to be
more general. Okay.
It just needs to be really a name that would be expansive like that. So it could be, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Brick by brick, breaking down the barrier sounds so violent.
Well, it also is very traditional, but I do like it alludes to constructivism. I like it and then I don't like, But what about like learning in 2024? I think what I'm hearing is it's about what does learning look like in 2024? Because we have nonprofit, we have profit, we have
business,
education, formal business, we have industry. Like that's what we're talking about. But we have that equity, like how do we include all for learning in 2024? That's anyway, it's not, you're right, it's still not happening. I'll keep thinking.
I can't answer it either. It's because it really is that. And we'll think about it because like some of these shows that we have that everybody knows in America, like Dateline, doesn't mean anything.
Learning in 2024.
Right? Is that exciting? What's exciting? I don't have a clue.
Well, I think the opposite of learning is not learning or preventing yourself from learning. So maybe that could be a podcast with it when we're talking about why we're doing this. Because for me, it is like this media project evolved. And what fascinates me is there's three newbies right now, right at work. Like the three of us have come in as new consultants. None of us have any work for January. There are literally no jobs because our administration messed it up, right? Like take that out of the saved information here. But anyway, it's not recorded. But they did. And so I could see the writing on the wall. So I started this media project before and I connected with people and I asked them what's a problem that you would really like us to solve. So Verena looks like a star. I'm not even trying. I asked them to be involved, but because they don't know the system yet, they don't know how it's working. And I'm like, you can trust me. Like you really, but because obviously they're not, because they want to do what they're told to do. And I'm like, but in 3 years, you don't know where this university is going to be. You don't know what's going on. You have to basically create a position for yourself. If that's what you have to be needed. And that's like when we think about AI and the world, that's what we need to do in our jobs. We have to show why we're needed. That's how you get a job in 2024. And that's how we learn. We like
wow, that's an interesting perspective.
That's perspective.
Yeah, it's a little frightening actually, because but
no, but it's like if we're all making courses that can be taken from Chat GPT, when I realized like really anything I make can on it. Well, actually, I did another project to test that out, and I can't completely make it on Chat GPT, but I was seeing what I could and couldn't.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to be important. I need to show how I'm needed.
What's the relevance? What's the relevance of the human engagement? Well, part of it, we talk about this a lot.
We do.
And we talked a lot about it when we were doing this online course with Alaska. We spent a lot of time talking about the human engagement component and why it was so valuable. And we talked ourselves into it from a cultural perspective, specifically around Alaska Natives, because as a culture, they do not participate in individualism as well. They are a community-based society, and because they're born and raised and indoctrinated in a community-based society, it's hard not to be. It really is just hard not to be. And so asking them to diverge from that and rip themselves out of that is really difficult. The exact same is true for the individualized Western world we have now, where people want to be all alone in a course and walk at their own pace and be in charge because they're individuals. At the same time, that individuality, I think, supports a lack of accountability. And the thing I like about the in-person piece is the community accountability perspective, if that can be a phrase or a term, because it allows you to say, this person did it and I didn't, and then I have to expect a little bit more out of myself. And I'm sorry, but that's the way we were all. And so, yeah, you do have to make it kind of that way, but there is something about that there's really important. If I don't do it as a group, then it's not the same impact. People are not paying attention. And if it's a group of your peers, even more so. So if you're in a professional development experience and you have two peers that are doing really well, it motivates the rest of the group so they don't look like such slogs. Right. So I always get an A-type overachiever in any of my groups, right? Because that's just design.
Well, and I was thinking about that as well. I'm not even trying to be A-type, but I'm like, my job, because I am A-type, like accepting that as well. But I have to do my job. Like I have to do my job and I can choose to do it well or not well. So I had to set myself up so that like now everything I talk about, everyone's all media, media, media. And yeah, it's getting everyone excited and things. But on the other hand, it's not at all supposed to be my job. My job is not described that way. My job is to create courses, literally. That is what my job is. Like that's what it says. But I'm taking it and playing with it to actually like it's hugely beneficial for me to create better courses by doing this project.
Yes.
Students, others, yeah, like it's And that's how we have to start thinking about this job too.
Yes.
Because the others, because the lows have been here a while are getting bored out of their minds. And the new ones are scared to do anything out of line. They keep asking, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? I'm like, there are no rules. There is nothing for us to do in January. Nothing. There's zero. There's no job. So what are you going to do? Yeah. Like,
wow. Okay. Well, since you have a lot of time, let's
well, now I've killed it with the media, but I am going to do this. So, but that's why if we do a segment on the media, like that's, or not a segment, a series. So maybe I'll think about that as well with, okay, but could you repeat the person's university that you mentioned? I got LaGuardia, but that's not what it was. The person that we wanted.
Oh, the one is Gallaudet, the Gallaudet University.
I was going to look it up, but okay. Gallaudet, and that's with the students. I love that idea, and they'll be like, okay.
Well, she was great. She's the one I interviewed when we did one of them. I don't remember which one. I did one of these courses for Alaska for ANTHC, and so I had her review it because people were asking, what's the accessibility piece? And she told me, interestingly enough, she said it's irrelevant. And I said, what? And she said, the life skill building is how to navigate this nonsense. Because she said, in order for us to change it, we have to change the whole system. We can't wait for people to change the whole system to get educated. What we do is we teach people how to engage with this, with the world that is not this way. She said, so that's what our job is to engage and teach people to be functional in a world, especially if you're deaf and blind. How do you freaking navigate a world that is designed for seeing people? I don't even know how they do that, but much less an education or a computer. Freak. But it works. They do it all the time. Yeah. And now with AI, they can do presentations.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bizarre. It's freaking bizarre. I think there's a lot to be unpacked. And I think the AI one is another series.
Yeah. Well, the AI thing, I think we have to do because that
will or we might want to integrate AI into every conversation on some level, because I saw a video, a YouTube video. It was like, oh, I don't know, 12 minutes long. And this guy went and reviewed all of these AI things and said, this is what you do. Oh my God. Brina, it was weird. So I created an opening song for our podcast. And I just typed in the headline and I typed it in, and it created music that is ours if we want to use it, totally licensed. Super weird. And then, so that was one. The other one was all the images it could create. You could go in there and create any freaking image for free. And then you take it into another one and say, make it come alive. And it takes this thing. So he did I don't remember which one. It was it was a rodent, a beaver or something. And he did the beaver playing a guitar, and that was the image. And then he took it to the other one and he just made it come alive, and the thing started playing the instrument. It was freaking weird. And it was all in like minutes. It was weird. And then he said, go make your own avatar, go here. So I did. I spoke into the camera for about 2 minutes. It did its generation and it created this avatar of me. I can type anything in there and it'll talk like it was me.
That's so scary. Like instantly you get the scared of the privacy part and how your voice be.
It was, at the same time, I saw the opportunity of like,
an opportunity.
Oh my God, I could do my intros for this podcast, type them all up, make sure they're all grammatically correct, copy, paste, put it in there, and I could have myself in my little suit record them, and no one would know it was not me for real, because it's my face. And if I pay the extra $40, I can get my voice. And it would literally synthesize my voice and my face, and no one would know that it was not me.
Well, I definitely think we should bring this up. And then the project that I was doing before Christmas was all about creating an instructional design tool for an integration with AI. So using AI to create courses and online courses and do everything. Yeah. And that I'm literally working on that project with
Oh, interesting. So that would be a good project for us to do as an episode. So I would
well,
take,
yeah, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say because it's for profit. So that's why I'm like,
pardon?
it's for profit. So therefore I
Oh, no,
can't.
so what I would do is I would do the same, I would just do the same test. I would take our, that creative, that course development project that we did. We did that whole outline of how to develop a course, take that, pop it into AI and say, use this to develop a course on this topic and see what it would do.
No, we could so for sure do it. Our problem is, or our question on that, our wicked question there is, do instructors or do universities even care about actual learning? Because if they do, they need to change the way that they're teaching, right? And change the way that we're thinking about assignments. This is the biggest problem with university is there's not necessarily a lot of reason for it, especially if you have crappy teachers and people who don't care and who are just giving content thinking about AI, because there's nothing that they're not going to learn from AI. So that's again why, getting back to that previous topic, I was thinking maybe the title is being learning relevant.
What
Like
is it?
being learning relevant, or playing with that, or being relevant in learning. It's relevant. Relevant, authentic learning are the key words. I don't necessarily want to be like actually responsive. Relevant, authentic are the key words that were coming up by the end of the year. And they just mean being human. So being a human learner, but it's being learning relevant, which doesn't grammatically work, but so that's kind of why it's funny, is interesting to me because I think that's why people have conversations with us, because we're relevant. We talk about relevant things that are going to help your organization.
Oh, well, I'm thinking about something. Hold on, I'm going to plug in my laptop real quick.
Oh, don't hurt yourself. That'd be horrible.
But I'm thinking about.
Oh, you just put yeah. It's something about being relevant. I think that's what we are. And that's why we know each other. And that's why we're important to each other. Because I heard things from you that I can never understand or experience without you. So you're relevant to me. You will always be relevant to me. Do you know what I mean? And when we think about people, there's some people that you're like, I'm not learning anything from you. I don't need you. I don't need you in any shape or form. You're not relevant. But we're doing it in terms of learning.
Well, here's the interesting thing. I was thinking about this morning as I was shoveling snow.
Which I still have to do. Keep going.
And for some reason, I've been you know me, I get very I get a little bit angry. I sound like a Marxist. I know I do. But at the same time, I was really frustrated by the fact that in our in our attempt to formalize education, we messed up and we diverged and we commodified education. We made it a business, and because we've done that, we broke it.
Yeah.
So, but in the past, when we formalized education, education was not formalized in a school. Most people didn't do that. Most people demonstrated their work through an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
They did the work. They actually had to do the work. And so I'm saying that because we dismantled that system that was free, by the way, like I would get paid to learn, right, as an apprentice. I mean, I would get paid dog scraps, but still I had food on the table and a place to live, but maybe. And back in the 1800s, it was standard. You know, you would be a farmhand. You might have to live in a barn, but you know, you got a place to live and you were given food and you knew that you were going to be okay. So part of that was the system was designed that way so that you could do that barter experience and that we could integrate that part of education. And you knew when you were done, when you were ready. No one graduated you from sheep school. right?
No.
One day you did your own herding, the next day you got your own herd, and something happened. And again, but the same thing with construction and artistry and everything else that we did in the world, as far as learning and education, we did as a one-on-one experience primarily. That's what it feels like to me, and we lost that. So my question is, can we not move back towards that? Isn't that the next generation of where we're at, of what we need to do next? Is we've moved into universities, we broke it, now we got to move back out. So you can do all the content you want. Your demonstration is what is important, and that is not a fucking test. Sorry, it is not a test,
Not.
because it's
No,
not. It drives me crazy. It's demonstration. And I think the thing I liked about our A&T 8C course, it was all about demonstration. The sister school project that I did with high school students, it was 100% demonstration. That's what they had to do. They had to produce in order to get their points, in order to move forward. But they had to do something. They had to finish it. They had to participate in it. They had to do something. And it was engagement.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's well in K-12 they call that like making learning visible.
Yeah.
And there's the Zero project out of Harvard, and there's some other projects with Hattie, the same idea. And then I looked at it in terms of higher education, and they call it like surface and deep learning. And
Mhm.
there's some getting into it, but that's why they brought in, I think you're really onto something, because they brought in experiential learning as a key and essential element, or they call it work integrated learning, um, of whatever program you're in. It doesn't matter what you're in, you have to have this element in some. So not all, many universities are trying to integrate this in some capacity, and they're asking, like, that's where the grants are going, trying to get you to do something. So when I designed those courses before Christmas or worked at them, part of the template was where's the experiential learning in this, or alternatively, where's the metacognitive aspect? So how can students tell you how they're learning, or
Yes.
describe it?
Yes.
Like in
or
some
show
way. So either reflection or showing or whatever, but it's the metacognition that has been missing when we just have a multiple choice or
Yes. Mhm.
yeah. So you're right. Like universities are seeing that. And then I was watching The Crown over the holidays, and there's this part where Tony Blair is gaining popularity, and so the Queen's all worried. Have you watched The Crown yet?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you'll laugh at this. So then he's like, well, and so she asked him for advice, and she's like, how can I be more relevant? Actually, it was, how can I be more relevant? How can I be more connected to my people? And he's like, well, you have to go through all these jobs that you have, and you have to like cut them because these people are not relevant, like the random geese counter of the water, or the table napkin folder. Like literally there were these jobs. And so she heard them, and it of course sounds horrible when you hear the name. And my big thing is they're hereditary, so you can only be it if your dad was it. So I think that's the cultural part of it. Okay, so that's what we could play with. Yeah, like what you're saying is, if you want to be a napkin folder, you should have the opportunity to be a napkin folder, or yes, a counter, whatever. So she went and she interviewed them. So she got to know all the current geese counter napkin folders, and she heard about the history and the mentoring involved and exactly everything that you're talking about. But what she missed in that moment, and I'm like, I get it. I get that it's important to keep these stories, and it's important to count your geese and whatever else and the impact. But you missed that everyone should have the opportunity to do that. And that's, I think, what's going on in education as well. We're still keeping it elitist.
Yes.
And keeping the geese counters and the napkin folders in their privileged spots, rather than figuring out how can we share those and highlighting the importance of the geese counters and the napkin folders in society.
Wow, there's something really valuable about that. I think there's something about
that's another topic then.
Gosh, that's intense.
Yeah, but I think that could be another theme, experiential learning. And I always forget how much I know weird things until you bring it up. Like I have
That's the point, because I do too, but we learn them and we knew them differently. It's very weird. The thing I love about this more than anything, who cares about the podcast, is how affirming it is for both of us. Because your theories are theoretical, and then I'm like living them out, and my theories, I'm living them out, and they're like, oh, but they're not theoretical anymore. I mean, but they're actually written down. They're actually, someone actually did some research around all of this.
And that's what I think I learned in my dissertation. It was so sad because someone actually did do research on most of the stuff that I thought was my idea. But
right?
Knowledge is all about building upon the shoulders of those before us. And don't ever think it's like it kind of killed me with this.
Absolutely. No,
It's
the only
about,
thing I did differently was put it down differently for a different age, right? Because it's all the same shit. So here's an interesting example of what we're talking about here in Maine, because they have such a lack of lawyers, attorneys. They've created a new program where you can, with a bachelor's degree, you can work for an attorney for 2 years and then practice.
take a bar exam?
No, no bar exam necessary. You practice.
But that's kind of like teachers too, that they don't have to go to teaching college in order to be a teacher. And I see the problems of that in higher education when you don't have any experience teaching and then you're out teaching in a university. Like
Exactly.
you had 6 months of training.
Yes, you get to do both.
Yeah.
My feeling, you got to do a little bit of both. You're not going to be able to get the content in the 2-year period of time that you would get in a focused content delivered experience. So in the end, I've talked myself into, you need both. So in order
you
for
do. Yeah, you do.
but like like both. If you need a 4-year degree, 2 of that is academic and 2 of that is experiential. Based on the academic. And that means you don't take 4 years of accounting, you take 2 years of accounting, and then you do 2 years of accounting.
Internship. Yeah. Well, as
Right.
a pre-service, I teach pre-service teachers, and they're always telling me they don't need me. And I always say to them, just take this time to reflect, because you won't even have time to pee in the future. Like, this is your last opportunity to reflect on who you are and why you want to do this. Because you think you just want to do it for the money or whatever else, because there's a job, but it is really, really difficult. It is really hard to be authentic in that moment. And if you don't take that time at the beginning to learn with a mentor or whatever, then you're going to run into you're going to be overwhelmed. Of course you are.
Of course you are. Absolutely.
You'll be bamboozled. Yeah. Okay. Experiential learning, AI, media literacy or media. But first of all, we have activity theory. So back to the thing that we keep saying, did you write a script about activity theory? And if not, I will write up some questions. I don't see them.
No. Oh, no. I didn't. No, I didn't. I lie. What I did was a script, because I thought, okay, we got to start over from the beginning, because we don't really have most of it is just this stuff, right? Yappy. So
right.
our first script is really about these first 3 questions.
Yes, those we can do. Yeah. And we're just going to ask each other those questions. And let's say we will not talk longer than 30 minutes. We're not going to say that.
Yeah.
It'll be done in 30 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, we'll keep a timer on ourselves. We'll do an introduction about why we want to do this, that kind of thing. And then just talk about ourselves and why we're here and what we want to do and what the whole point of this is.
I don't know if we want to do activity theory number 2 as our number 2 podcast, but I think that we can save it so that we can use it later. Okay.
Yeah.
Because maybe, well, we can think about what we want to do as our topic. That we don't have to decide that right now. But right. I will write up then for Wednesday, because I can't do next week because I've messed it up. So I will take it on myself to write up a script by tomorrow about activity theory, mostly just questions. That's what it's going to be. Like, these are the questions we're going to ask each other. I imagine there'll be a brief overview of what is activity theory. I think it'll go to, Arthur, can you explain how you see activity theory in one of your current consulting experiences? Or so we'll use your personal relevancy, and then it will turn into, well, actually, that's all we need to do. We just need to explain it.
Yep, we just need to explain it and then talk about, so the way I see exactly that we do little bit of how I see it. We'll talk about what happened, like how did we get to the activity theory conversation to begin with, right? We could even bring in a little bit of that conversation so we can say this is where it came from, and then we could splice that original conversation in and into our interview, and then being able to go back to you because you talked a little bit about it in that piece that we did. You gave some data, like I know a little bit, this is what it was, and then we came back at a second time and you talked a little bit more about it. So you gave a little bit more context. So this would be a really good opportunity to get very clear from your perspective about what the hell I'm talking about. And then being able to share both. Like, this is what I saw, this is what you saw, this is what's real, this is how it looks on the ground, whatever we want to do with it at that point. Yeah. Does that, that seems like a rhythm.
That seems like a rhythm and a pattern. So you're going to have like the model is kind of explain an overview.
Yep.
Then do a contextual example. And then like next steps are further.
Yeah.
And then we're going to summarize with go here for the video to learn more.
Exactly. Yep.
So the only thing that I have to think about, I have to make the overview, which is fine. Like think about what I would do. The contextual example, you'll just talk about it after you hear my overview. You can say, this is how, like, you'll be able to do that because you'll be like, this is how this connects, this is how that connects. And I will write up some notes about the overview when I do the overview. So I know, so you'll see it, so you have an idea. But then and then the third part will be kind of why it's important or why it's relevant.
Yes. Right. Like, and how would you use this kind of thing? Yeah, exactly. Who cares?
Well, then maybe that's our title. Why is this relevant?
Who cares?
Anyway. Okay. So I'll get that done. And if we could meet at 8:30 instead of 8 on, I think I said we were meeting at 8:30 on Wednesday. And then if we get that done, then next week, when I don't have Wi-Fi and it's chaos, I can think about the media one, pull something together, have a draft for you, like of what I see as kind of a series or ideas. I'll send that to you asynchronously when I find Wi-Fi in a cafe, whatever I'm doing. And then it's not a lot of pressure on me, but then it's more brainstorming, and then it has to be done that week. So that's good. And then the week after, so maybe connect with your friend, the guy death, university, to see if she'd be, like, just engage and then say, we'd really like to have an interview with you. Would you be up for it?
And that would be like, when do you think?
Well, on your moving schedule, mid-February, like we do have to remember that too.
Let me ask her about it. So I'll send her a note and see where she's at. And
and see where she's at. So we know
if there's a possibility that we could have her for an hour in mid-February to do a podcast interview.
Because I think what's really relevant there is I'm being told accessibility, we must follow these rules. And if she's like, well, what we're telling people who actually have these disabilities is that they need to learn how to live in this world.
If we both, right?
Forces, then we need to think about both considerations and how that affects what we're doing. So from a learning,
I would say that would be our questioning series. Like, okay, so what's important if we're doing this educational stuff? What's relevant, right? What's relevant? Why is it relevant? Yeah. Because it's important for people to have that conversation. So I think that works. Okay,
sounds like a plan. So I know I need to go look up activity theory today. Oh, great, fun times, which is super hard, by the way. That you just went and looked at it, I'm like, okay, you do you. Great. Now I have to do it again. But that's sounds like fun.
Sounds like fun. It's a party. It's a party, man.
Well, I'm making media integration look sexy, so like any.
Hey, it's a party. All right. Well, enjoy yourself and have a really good couple of days. I'll see you on Wednesday. And
well, I'm gonna send you something ahead of time. I'll just send it through email because then you'll see it. Okay. Good luck with the house.
Thank you. I'll let you know.
Okay. Bye.